Good evening and welcome. You're with News First, your number one news provider. I'm Shamir Rasooli.
I'm Sonali Wanikavalige. We start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Sri Lanka cricketers sign central contracts. A migrant worker who travelled to Jordan reported dead. No details reported about her whereabouts over the past 6 years. Hand grenade discovered in the Hammadra court premises. A News First U reporter has the detail.
On to the news in detail now. Sri Lankan cricketers signed their central contracts today. Accordingly, Sri Lanka Cricket said that 22 cricketers signed the contracts under 4 categories. Manager of the Sri Lanka cricket team, Michael de Souza, said yesterday that Sri Lanka Cricket has decided to turn down the request made by players to repay the 25% of the ICC match fee.
The deadline granted for cricketers to sign their central contracts with Sri Lanka Cricket for the next year ended last Saturday. However, none of the players signed the contracts till last evening. A special discussion to resolve the conflict was convened by the chairman of the Sri Lanka Cricket Selection Committee, parliamentarian Sanath Jayasuriya, at the Sri Lanka Cricket headquarters in Colombo yesterday. Following the discussion, journalists questioned manager of the Sri Lanka cricket team regarding the conclusion of the decision.
නෑ මං හිතනවා ප්ලේයර්ස් ලාගේ ඉල්ලීම් ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ.
මේ ප්ලේයර්ස් ලා වැඩිපුර සල්ලි ඉල්ලලා තියෙනවද මෙතනදී?
නෑ නෑ වැඩිපුර සල්ලි ඉල්ලලා නෑ. ප්ලේයර්ස් ලාට හම්බ වෙච්ච සල්ලි වලින් ගාණක්
ප්ලේයර්ස් ලාගේ ඉල්ලීම් මොකද්ද මේ සාර්ථක?
ඒගොල්ලන්ට මීට ඉස්සර හම්බුණා 125ක් මං හිතනවා. ඉතින් දැන් මුකුත්ම හම්බ වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Yesterday's discussion lasted for about 3 hours.
ක්‍රීඩකයෝ දීර්ඝ සාකච්ඡාවකින් පස්සේ මාත් එක්ක ඒගොල්ලෝ කැමති වුණා කොන්ත්‍රාත්තු අසම් කරන්න.
සීලම ක්‍රීඩින් කවුද නැත්තම්
සීලම ක්‍රීඩකයන්ට
හැබැයි මේ ක්‍රීඩින් කිව්ව දෙනෙක් කලින් එළියට ඇවිල්ලා ගියා අපි දැක්කා.
කලින් ගියේ මම හිතන්නේ කතා කරන ගමන් ගියේ ඒකට කැමති වෙලා හිටියේ. සීලම ක්‍රීඩකයන් කැමති වුණා මොකද ඒක විශේෂයෙන් සාකච්ඡා කරලා ඉවරලා ඇන්ජලොත් චන්දිමාලුත් තමයි තීරණය ගන්න තිබුණේ. ඇන්ජලෝ චන්දිමාලුයි කණ්ඩායම වෙනුවෙන් මේ තීරණය ගත්තා.
කියන්නේ අනිත් ක්‍රීඩකයෝ තීරණය ගත්තා ඇන්ජලෝ චන්දිමාලුගේ තනි තීරණයටද මේ
නෑ ඉතින් මම කියන එක තේරුණාද? මම කිව්වේ කණ්ඩායම තීරණය අරගෙන ඒ තීරණය කිව්වේ චන්දිමාලුයි ඇන්ජලෝ මැතිව්ස්.
That the organisation did not intervene into the discussions held yesterday. He further said that no official request was extended to players to sign the contracts today. Manager of the Sri Lanka cricket team, Michael de Souza, said that except for Mahela Jayawardene, who is currently overseas, all cricketers signed their respective contracts today. After yesterday's discussion, journalists made inquiries from players regarding the signing of contracts.
අසං කරේද නැද්ද?
කාගේද?
කොන්ට්‍රැක්ට් එක අසං කරාද?
මොන කොන්ට්‍රැක්ට් එකද?
ක්‍රීඩක ගිවිසුම් කොන්ට්‍රැක්ට් එක.
We came for a party. You can ask that from the ones who came to sign the contract.
අපිට සාර්ථකද අසාර්ථකද විතරක් කියන්න පුළුවන්.
මම මාතර ගිහිල්ලා ඊයේ
I went to Matra at 11 o'clock last night and came back without playing the match.
ඒක මට හරි මහන්සි ඒක.
චෝදනා
The newly constructed Vahalkada of the Thelul Bodhiraj Rama Vihare in Thanamal Villa was declared open by President Mahinda Rajapaksa today. President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who arrived at the Thelul Bodhiraj Rama Vihare this morning, engaged in religious observances. The President also presented toolkits to students of the Vocational Training Centre, which has been set up at the temple. Chief incumbent of the temple, Venerable Modaravane Sudamathera, presented a special memento to the President at the occasion. A large number of ministers as well as members of the Mahasangha were present at the event.
A 19-year-old girl from the Kakirav area who travelled to Jordan seeking employment has reportedly passed away. According to Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Bureau, the Sri Lankan embassy in Jordan on the 28th of February had conveyed that the girl in question had passed away. However, the body of the deceased is yet to be flown back to Sri Lanka.
Lakmali Subani Karunaratna, a resident of Kirimetiawa in Kakirawa, who was the eldest in a family of 2, was 19 years old when she travelled to Jordan seeking employment. Lakmali's family went through economic hardships after her father died due to a kidney disease, and this prompted Lakmali to seek foreign employment.
She went overseas because we were poor. If her father was alive, she wouldn't have travelled overseas. She went overseas to rescue us from misery.
Lakmali departed for Jordan on the 15th of February 2007 with many aspirations. However, her relatives did not hear from her ever since. Lakmali's relatives lodged a complaint with the agency that made preparations for Lakmali to travel overseas. However, the relatives charged that the Foreign Employment Agency did not pay any heed to the complaints lodged by the relatives. News First travelled to the Foreign Employment Bureau office to find out the truth behind these claims. Deputy General Manager of the Bureau's Social Development Division, Mangala Randaniya, spoke to the Foreign Employment Agency in connection.
Lakmali Subani Kila.
We have been notified that Lakmali Subani of Kekirava has passed away. We have an earlier complaint as well. There is another complaint stating that there is no information on her. We have received her death certificate. Do you know anything about this?
සම්බන්ධයෙන් කිසිම තොරතුරක් නැහැ කියලා කම්ප්ලේන්ට් එකකුත් තියෙනවා. දැන් එයාගේ මරණය වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ ගැන මොනවා හරි දන්නවද?
The embassy informed me and said that she had passed away. We received information from the agent there and we did not pursue about this case any further. Information was provided to the family but they remained quiet. That is probably why they did not complain.
They have lodged constant complaints in 2009, 2011 and 2012. Enterprise. As a licensed agency, you are fully aware that we update these complaints in our system.
මේ කම්ප්ලේන් එකක් අපි අප්ඩේට් කරගෙන යනවා කියලා සිස්ටම් එකෙන් ඕගොල්ලන්ට දීලා තියෙන පාස්වර්ඩ් එක තමුන් එක බලන්න කියලා.
The telephone conversation proves that Lakmali's relatives had complained on a number of occasions that their daughter who sought employment overseas has been missing. They have been complaining for 7 years. What have you done about it? We have informed the embassy about the complaints. However, the victims' relatives claim that no one paid any heed to their complaints. Finally, Lakmali died in a foreign land and her parents received word of her death only through unofficial channels. Nearly 6 years after Lakmali's departure, the death certificate sent to the Foreign Employment Bureau notes that the cause of death was a heart attack.
We spoke to the Foreign Employment Bureau and many others. We even wrote letters to the President. However, we did not revive any solution from them. Finally, we received word of her death.
ලක්මාලි විදේශගත වී වසර 6කට පසුව ඇය මියගිය බවට විදේශ සේවා නියුක්ති කාර්යාංශයට ලැබී ඇති මරණ වාර්තාවේ දැක්වෙන්නේ ඇය හෘදයාබාධයකින් මිය ගොස් ඇති බවයි.
She was abroad for a long time. However, they were able to send word of her death all of a sudden on the 28th of February. We don't know if my child was murdered.
According to the Foreign Employment Bureau, the responsibility of bringing down the remains of a victim does not come under their purview. Lakmali Subani Karunaratna worked as a migrant worker for nearly 7 years, and during this time, she had sent nearly 49,000 rupees back to her parents. However, according to her relatives, a majority of this money had been spent on trying to locate her whereabouts.
Migrant workers suffer various hardships in 2013 as well. Sri Lankan housemaid Renuka Damayanti, who was serving in Jordan, admitted to the Kurunegala Teaching Hospital with injuries. Another Sri Lankan housemaid who served in the Middle East admitted to the Kuliapitiya hospital after being subjected to various forms of violence in the hands of her employees. The most recent incident, information comes to light that a youth from Kekirava Kirimatiyana who went missing after visiting Jordan for employment had passed away. Shouldn't attention be focused on protecting these housemaids who contribute for the development of this country?
Many individuals have already joined News First in its citizen journalism initiative and have already registered as News First U reporters. News First will continue to provide a platform for their stories. Tonight we are joined by Roshan Drajika from Hambantota.
Motorcycles at the court premises in Hambantota were subjected to a search following a tip-off received by the OIC of the Hambantota police. The police were able to arrest an individual who attempted to bring a hand grenade inside the court complex. The hand grenade is currently under the possession of the police. The police suspect that the individual may have brought the hand grenade as a result of a personal dispute.
Now, according to the police, a clerk of the Hambantota court had brought the hand grenade in his motorbike. The grenade was discovered during a search operation. The suspect is currently in police custody.
Security has been beefed up in and around the Sri Lankan Deputy High Commission in Chennai owing to a protest. According to Indian media reports, 500 individuals, including leader of the Marmalachi Dravida Munnetra Kalagam party, Y. Gopalaswamy alias Vaiko, were arrested by the Chennai police for staging the protest.
India media reports that the protest was launched against alleged human rights violations in Sri Lanka. Several political parties, including the DMK led by Karunanidhi, spearheaded the protest.
There were some political parties protesting against Sri Lanka, and then they were there from 11 o'clock. And then now they have been arrested by the Tamil Nadu police. And I should also mention, I should thank the Tamil Nadu police also. They have given us full protection, and then they were very helpful, and that's why there was no incident happened. So they held their protest, and they have been now arrested. And the mission is, of course, today our activities, day-to-day activities, were not affected. Now we are continuing our day-to-day activities as usual.
Vaiko was arrested on an early occasion for staging a similar protest opposite the UNESCO office in India 2 weeks ago.
An individual in Tamil Nadu attempted self-immolation in protest over alleged human rights violation in Sri Lanka. The 41-year-old man, who is a social worker of coastal Nallavadu village by profession, doused himself with petrol and set himself ablaze, raising slogans at the collectorate complex. The police said he was admitted to the government hospital with serious burn injuries.
Dr. Dan Jayatilaka says that the government has been isolated internationally following the defeat of terrorism 3 years ago. Dr. Jayatilaka made this comment in an interview with the BBC Sandeshaya.
According to the BBC Sandeshaya, Dr. Dayan Jayatilaka has said that the Sri Lankan government had acted in an irresponsible manner, being well aware about the imminent US-sponsored resolutions against Sri Lanka to be tabled at the 22nd session of the United Nations Human Rights Council. Dr. Jayatilaka pointed out that he does not view the call of the international community for the protection of human rights in Sri Lanka as a negative development. Dr. Dayan Jayatilaka is a former Sri Lankan permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva and also held the position of permanent delegate of Sri Lanka to UNESCO.
A 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court has been appointed to consider 5 petitions, including a petition challenging the appointment of the Chief Justice Mohan Peiris. The other petitions that will be brought before the panel include 4 fundamental rights petitions filed against the impeachment of former Chief Justice Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake and the impeachment motion that was brought against Dr. Bandaranayake. The 9-judge bench comprises of Justices Shirani Tilakawardena, Nimal Gamani Amaratunga, Salim Masuf, K. Sri Pavan, P. Ratnayake, Chandra Ekanayake, Satya Hettige, Priyasath Depp and Eva Vanasundara.
Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that disabled soldiers have not been neglected despite the end of the war. The Defence Secretary made this comment at a function held in Mahawar today. The function was held to hand over house to Lance Corporal Jagat Kumara, a resident of Thalakulahen area in Nikavaratia. During the last 30 years, many soldiers were disabled. Many were gravely disabled. We commenced the Abhimansala program in order to ensure that these soldiers are not a burden to their families. We established the Mihindu Seth Madura in Aptidia to address the grievances of the disabled soldiers. We have launched many welfare activities for the betterment of the three armed forces.